Okay, so okay, so so I'm going to talk about collaborative agile development in virtual reality. So before I start anything, I would like to thank the sponsors. Okay, so we have all our sponsors: the platinum one, gold, silver, and bronze. And now a little bit about myself. My name is Talal Shaikh. I'm the director of undergraduate studies at Harvard University, and I have research interest in agile software development. Not really the software side of developing it, but how technology can actually improve this human-to-human process which we are having, and of course robotics, IoT, and AI. This particular project is actually developed by my student Rahul Vijay Kumar. So this student, he had a previous working experience as a software developer, which used to work in like the agile. It was an agile environment for him, and also he had some interest in 3D design. So I said, okay, why not just, he's the perfect combination to build a project in these lines. Okay, so before I talk about the project, let me talk about what's the problem. Okay, so it seems 80% of the companies are not happy with their GSE activities. So GSE actually means Global Software Engineering. And that's one of the quote from one of the papers. It says 80% of the companies are not satisfied with their global software activities. One of the major reasons of failure is that it's because of the distance and lack of communication. Okay. If you see this, can anyone tell me what this is about? Sorry? Yeah, it's the XP process, extreme programming. So if you see all of this in each and every part, though there are all these processes around listed here, but each of these requires humans. Okay, and these are processes that you keep doing with each other. Okay, so if you see again from another paper, it says all agile principles and processes suggest the requirement of being closely co-located for the team is very, very important. And the communication between the team is important in case of any agile development model. Okay. One more statistics. It seems, according to Doghead Simulations, it's a VR company. It seems that's $1 trillion companies spent on travel, and around 45% of teams work remotely and still follow agile methodologies, even though agile as a methodology itself was developed for co-located teams that are in close proximity. Okay, and more like in the similar space. So there could be a scenario where it could be your teams, your clients, the product owner itself might be in a different country altogether, or maybe not even in the same physical space. So this is just to set the problem quite clearly where it could happen. So we looked into communication. How has communication been in the digital world? So we have identified that like two main categories of communications. You have non-immersive communication and you have immersive communication. So you could have non-immersive communication like email, instant messaging, and your VoIP, your Skype, and all that stuff. Skype is blocked, so maybe bot him. Okay, and then you have your immersive communications like augmented reality, virtual reality, and MR. Can anyone tell me what's MR? It's mixed. So it's like mixing both AR and VR together. That gives you both the perspectives. Okay, so we try to focus on the VR part of the immersive communication. Okay, so what we wanted was something like this. So where at the end of the day, people would be sitting together and interacting and developing and having meetings. So most likely, if you look at this chart here, we're looking at face-to-face interaction with communication. That's the most important, communication via technology. That's the part we're actually trying to focus on. And this particular project we did was actually looking at building the prototype. Okay, not really. I won't say we did a full-scale testing, but we did a testing on the prototype model. So we are going to improve it eventually in the future to explore it further. So now the question can be asked is like, what are the other companies doing for this? So there must be other virtual reality companies. Have they looked into software development and any meeting-based software? So there are companies that they have not, this next example here. We expect people to go like that, okay? But in reality, it's something like this right now. So this is how virtual meetings actually happen. So you can see, and this is from Doghead Simulation, the VR company. So you could see like it's your avatar, and you start interacting with other people. Okay, but these kind of stuff is specifically meant for just meetings. So it's just like an added on interaction level to Skype. Okay, but it's just that you have an avatar and you are in a 3D space. You're not really doing anything specific. All right. Facebook, the company which bought Oculus, they are trying this. So as you see here, they're trying to bring in work practices from different places. So these two guys could be located somewhere else, and they are trying to paint or draw together in a same digital environment. So what we looked at was, is agile software development possible with teams who are not co-located? But we try to do that in VR. So we try to get the co-location element through virtual reality. So we ended up developing a simple prototype for Agile, and we had this in the university, so we used this. So we had this is a version 2. Yeah, this is DK2 development kit 2 from Oculus, and then we have Leap Motion here. So Oculus is basically the headgear that lets you be in a virtual reality environment. The gear are on there. The Leap Motion is basically to detect where your hands are in respect to a 3D space. I will show you why we require that. So this is the setup. So we had to plug this device together, both this from two different companies, so that we can actually get the UI something like this. All right. So that's your hand, but in the digital world. Okay. And you can see the keyboard through that. Okay. And that's where we are in one of the modes. Okay. So this looks like a lock mode. Again, it's a prototype, so we have to flesh out the details there. If I just go back here, this is how the software architecture of this prototype is built on. So we built it on Unity, which is a game development framework, quite popular. I mean, mainly virtual reality is used by game developers, so we just inherited that part from them. And of course, we took the infrared camera element from Leap Motion to actually see through if someone else is coming in to see your devices. Like once you are in the virtual world, you can't see anything, right? And if you're really working on your keyboard, you need to see the keyboard, right? And how your hands and fingers are placed. So we use Leap Motion for that. And then we have a stack for voice communication, so you can actually speak and talk within the 3D environment. And then of course we have shared VR browser, which I will show you in a minute. So this is how the setup looks like. And so for doing that, we needed to create a virtual meeting space. And this is a virtual meeting space. It has one big meeting room, no chairs, because Scrum, stand-up meetings all the time, so we thought we'll do away with that. And just to show a perspective of this is what it is, and when you wear the goggles, this is what you would actually have a look at. So most of the developers have 2 monitors, right? The documentation one on the left, and on your right you have your actual work screen. So we try to replicate the same thing. So this is when you actually view the stuff, and of course that there's a black bar down there where you can actually start seeing the stuff, your keyboard. So we tried to do a small experiment. So basically 2 users were tasked to implement a Java class where the other one can act as an observer and help the other to to help, some sort of an extreme programming thing, but one actually is observer, one drives the thing, then they switch the seats between each other. Okay, so as you can see here, he's trying to do the code in VR. This is the friend, and that's the avatar we made. Now, okay, so it's just a box for now, but it could be anything you can imagine. So yeah, these are some of the features. So we can do collaborative coding. There is a Blackboard where things are dynamic, where we can actually share our ideas among each other. So this thing gets replicated. That's meeting room where we try to do the stand-up meetings. We can, once you are done, you can also go and explore the 3D space. So here they're just exploring the space outside the virtual office. Okay, so that's just a side effect of it. We never thought about it at the early stage, but yeah, that's how it has come up. So, so how did we evaluate this? So we did this prototype evaluation. So there were master students who work in software development companies. We evaluated these things among with them, okay, and we did a small pilot study and a main study around this. And of course, users can back out at any time. The main reason for this is, I don't know if you have heard about it, being in a VR world, maximum they say you should work inside it is 15 minutes. Otherwise, you start getting dizzy. Okay, so when they started off this with Oculus Rift, if you have seen that roller coaster ride which they make you go through, so it made people nauseated. And so users could back out at any time. These are some of the evaluations. We have more, but for the constraints of time, we looked at people asked questions like, have you worked on a remotely located agile development team? So around 78% said yes. Most of the problems what people face in a virtual meeting, mainly they mentioned is because of bandwidth communications. It's not really because of like whenever they do a virtual meeting, most of the time it is because of bandwidth issues, and sometimes it's because of some miscommunication due to the software there. And then again we say select problems you believe that could be solved with this application. So mainly the idea was people like the sense of cohesion, trying to do the things together. So the question is again, so trying to answer this question, whether is it possible to develop agile software in VR even if you're not co-located. The answer is yes, but it still looks like it's a very, very long way to go. Agile development is possible in VR, but it can have a health risk. Now our participants, though they were told that maximum 15 minutes, but we have seen people like around half an hour or more trying to be in this environment. So it seems like if you give them something engaging enough, people are excited to try it out and work this out together. So yeah, people are willing to try new technology. Prototype needs to be tested over larger groups of people. We are just tested on a small set of people, so not really conclusive evidence. And of course, the hardware is not cheap, So we might look into going for that kind of a hardware, but that's like 25 dirhams. Okay, so maybe in the future. Okay, so I thought there was a small demo. This is how the setup looks like. I'll just run this video here, if you can actually see. Okay, it's sad. It's saying media is unavailable, but there is a. So this guy is in this virtual environment, and there is this one other person just behind him here. I think if I can load the YouTube maybe later on, you can actually see that they are actually trying to interact, and both the things are being shared among each other. Okay, and this thing was also that's my student. We also managed to exhibit at GTEx at a student lab competition, so we were selected as a finalist for that. And basically that's it. Thank you.